Yo, what's good, everybody? You are now listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. But before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
D's adding that flavor to your function. D's Daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Flavor to your function. D's Daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink. Wanna kick back, wanna just vibe. Work a kick back. Let me first slide to the drink store. Let me just buy DD drink mixes, all of them fire. Fill me up a case, I'm finna drop bread. Marvelous mango, classic and red. Took them to the party, these folks won't leave me alone. They wanting me to share, they better get their own. DD's adding that flavor to your function. DD's Daiquiri. Good vibe, one drink at a time. Good vibe, one drink at a time.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mar B, and you are listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, go to our website, www.manlistenshow.com. You can listen to all of our past episodes, our current episodes. Make sure you share the show. Make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Marv B. All right, y'all. So on today's episode, we got a very, very special episode. I'm going to give y'all a little bit of Black history. Y'all know we all about the Black community and upliftment and empowering and enriching the Black community, and knowing our history and knowing our past is something that we really need to know about. So I have two distinguished gentlemen from the Kansas City area with us, along with one of my homeboys, one of my frat brothers that's along here to tell this story. We got a wonderful story we're going to talk about Black music history in Kansas City. So I'm going to start out by introducing the Bump Band with Bump Funk. How you doing, Bump?
All right.
All right. And we got Kansas City's R. Kelly. Robert Kelly, what's up, man?
You got
it. He's the good R. Kelly. But then we got Mr. Jeremy Scott. Mr. Jeremy Scott, you know, he's Bump's son, and we got a wonderful story we about to tell y'all. So for those of y'all don't know, the Bump Band is a funk band out of Kansas City, Missouri. So obviously, you know, I grew up in this, I was born in the 70s, so you know, we exposed to the funk and we know a little bit about it, you know, listen to our parents' music. But Bump, tell us about how you got into music. Tell us what got your start, and you know, how did you become Bump? How did you become Bump Funk?
Well, I basically started out in high school, and I didn't really even know, you know, think about playing music, because, you know, I just didn't think about it, you know, and a buddy of mine from back at Central, we used to sneak in the auditorium and see who could play some you know, like one finger notes on the piano. and we got in a competition to see who could learn to play some songs first, or a song first, or something like that. And then I ended up leaving Central, and I stopped doing it for a long time. And then one day, you know, people were talking about there was going to, you know, you could have some music in the senior assembly, and when you your graduation senior assembly, and I said, well, let me see if I can learn some songs or something, you know. And I started working on some songs that just had like three different chords, like knock on wood, stuff like that. It was real simple. And then I started, you know, singing along with it, and I ended up, you know, people heard me and they said, you ought to, you know, play some of those things in the senior assembly or something like that. And it escalated, and I asked a bass player. There was another guy in the school who played bass. I found out, and then another guy in the school that played drums. And so I asked him to play with me, and we ended up playing in the senior assembly together. And it was basically on all white high school at East High School. It was like, I say, fourth black.
About 40 blacks and a bunch of other folks.
and so, we played the senior assembly, and then one day I was walking through the hall and people started saying, congratulations, congratulations. I said, for what? They said, you got best musician out of the senior class.
Okay, all right.
And I said, oh man, there were a whole bunch of people that were 100 times better than I was, and then in an all white school, and basically,
We were the only soul group.
it got, got to, and they voted me, best musician. And I said, well, maybe I have something. And then after I graduated, I started, trying to put a band together. That's how I got started with the music.
Okay. So, Mr. Kelly, you was in this. Y'all went to school together. Y'all was classmates.
Yeah, I came out a year before him.
Okay.
And I played in the same stage a year before he did.
Okay.
Because they had a Caucasian group that played all the time.
Okay.
So we played, and that was the first gig that we had. And I left there and went to Germany. I got drafted.
Okay.
And I played lead guitar. When I got over to Germany, had an all German band, and I couldn't play nothing. This guy was killing me. So they had nobody to sing the black music, but they could play it. They loved our soul music.
Right.
And so when we did things like Sam and Dave, when they played, they sung the accent that took away the soul. Have you ever heard the song, Something's Wrong with My Baby?
Yeah.
They would say, something is wrong with my baby. But they hired me to sing, and because I couldn't play the instrument good enough to stick with them, and they had horns and everything. So I went TDY, and I played with them. And when I came home, I was 21, 22 years old, and I didn't want to give it up. I ended up playing with this group here in Kansas City, and we traveled. We played with the guy that he's talking about, Knock on Wood. We played for that guy. We played for him, and a lot of Howlin' Wolf and those kind of guys. Eddie Perel, we played, and I was the oldest guy in the group. They called me the old man. I was 22. I was the old guy. Everybody else was fresh out of high school. We were called the Black Rock Advancement, But we was bumping heads. He played with the bump band. My cousin played with him, and we would see each other and crack on each other, bring out the good points and bad points of each group, and like the guys didn't know I went to school with him. We had a kindred from the very beginning. Bump and I did. So whenever I saw him, I was cheering him on. I think he was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But after that, like I said, we traveled, we traveled and just enjoyed it.
So, KC is known for his jazz, right? KC is known for his jazz, but y'all are a funk band, y'all do the funk. What inspired you? Like, who inspired you? I mean, I assume you got Parliament Funkadelic, and there was the influence of like James Brown on them, right? Who was y'all's influence, and why did y'all decide to go with the funk instead of the jazz route?
Because it was dance music. We played music that made people get up and dance. And it was just the best thing to see is when you're up there playing, not somebody sitting there looking at you, but they run out to the dance floor. That's the best feeling in the world, and we pack the dance floor and they don't leave the club. Blues people, jazz people, after a certain amount of time, you lose the crowd, they start leaving. We sung and we played the funk, and that's what they wanted to dance.
And there were more places to play
Yes, sir.
than jazz clubs. You know, I mean,
Okay.
more people are asking, you know,
for us,
you know,
right.
because we played funk.
That's right.
They wanted, you know, the groups to play the funk,
We
Okay.
did
and
wonder.
that brought us, you know, kept us busy all the time.
So it was the money. You was getting paid gigs, right?
We
Yeah,
didn't
get
work
paid.
for 5 years. All I did was I quit my job at Hallmark and traveled with the Black Rock. I bought cars. I had paid for my place where I stayed. Like I said, and most of the guys did the same thing. Most of the guys, we played every club. We played high schools. The principals would love us to come and play so that the students would come out of class and pay them, and we let him keep 1/3 of the money.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So I didn't work for 5 years.
Okay.
That's-
So let me ask y'all this. Describe the music scene in Kansas. I gotta assume this is probably what, late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s?
70s, yes. 60s,
70s.
70s, or actually 70s and 80s.
70s, 80s. Okay. So describe the music scene in Kansas City.
Oh, it was awesome.
There was clubs everywhere.
And
Everywhere. there
and
was
if they didn't
clubs.
have a band in their club and they had just jukebox, nobody would go in. So that's what was good.
Yeah.
We worked because all the clubs, and they wanted bands that had people dance and keep people in their club, keep them drinking, you know. So we had it like that. We were beating out a lot of guys that were playing for nothing. I mean, we love playing for nothing, but you know, we were traveling trying to get that money. So you got guys, even to this day, some of the guys that we know are still playing. And I don't want to call any names of the clubs, but the club owners don't want to pay them what we were getting back then.
Mm.
It's amazing. It's
Wow.
amazing. You know, and we always said, if you don't want to pay, you shouldn't have a club. You shouldn't have a band.
Right.
You know, that's what our living was. You know, bump, they played. You don't walk and carry. They paid us to carry the equipment because we love to play.
Mhm.
But we carried a lot of equipment. You know, we have roadies.
Yeah.
We had to carry our own stuff.
So yeah, so y'all was setting up the drums, the amps, the speakers, everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
You did it all. You did it all. You did it. So Bump, tell me about this album. So for those of y'all don't know this story, we're going to get into the story about how this album came out here recently in 2022. But this album, the Bump Band, featuring Bump Funk, when you put together this album, right, what was the story behind that? Because y'all was doing paid gigs, y'all was doing live shows, right? But did y'all get out of Kansas City? I mean, did you get the world recognition? Because this album didn't come out. Tell me about this album. Like, how'd you put it together? What was your thought process?
Well, when I was trying to get the album together, I wanted everybody in the group. You know, I asked everybody in the group to write a song, and because I wanted it to be a group thing, and I didn't want it to be just me doing something, you know, yeah. And I wanted everybody to have some music on the album and show our talents, you know. So we started, you know, putting stuff together, and the album came about just from people's ideas.
Okay.
And then we just started working on it because I didn't really I liked playing other people's music, you know, but I wanted our music to have people playing our music, you know.
Right.
And I wanted to be on a different level of music business. I wanted to be up there, you know, with people like Earth, Wind, and Fire and Parliament, all those people, you know, doing shows like that.
Okay.
And that was the main reason I was trying to do this album, you know, and I wanted people to know that we were talented, very talented.
Did y'all ever think about, I'm sorry, Mr. Kelly, did y'all ever think about leaving Kansas City? Because, you know, when I think about the soul music that we grew up on, you think about the Philly sound, right? you think about Stax Music in Memphis, right? Did y'all ever think about leaving Kansas City to maybe get like more exposure in a different pond, or were y'all just like, we're gonna make it work here in KC Mo?
Well, I thought, if you can't make it work in your own city, because I've seen a lot of groups that do that. They go to another state or something where there's big record companies and stuff, and then you see them maybe a year or two later, and they're not doing anything. Never heard anything from them or nothing. And so it wasn't any use to. It used to go out there to do that. If you can't make it in your own city, you're not gonna make it anywhere. I don't think. That's where I looked at. Plus, I had a job, and we had a job, and didn't, and had houses and cars and stuff, making payments and stuff, So what did it need to? Plus, I had a family too, So it wasn't any need to go out and try to venture and do all that kind of stuff when there's, just a slight chance of making it.
I understand.
And then, you destroy your family at home and lose your house and stuff because you don't have anybody bringing any money in,
We did that. We traveled, but we didn't know original music. That's why I was so happy to see him, because we did the top 20.
Okay.
We did, and so that was dance music. Like I said, we did a good job. We had 8-piece band and everybody sung.
Okay.
So the problem was that we had no original music, but we worked around this city. We worked around the state. We left the state. We made good money, but we had nothing that we taped that was ours. You know what I'm saying? We just had a beautiful sound, and that bump came up with, I tried to tell my guys, original music. We traveled with Earth, Wind & Fire, Gap Band, before they were stars. Okay. We bumped heads with them in Oklahoma. Earth, Wind & Fire was called The Odyssey, I believe, and they came to Kansas City. And they, Philip Bailey and all the guys, oh my God, they were awesome. They came here, and that's why I was telling you that the clubs back then paid us well, because you ain't gonna come from Denver, and make no money. Those guys came down here, and that's how they were paying. So, and football players were the owners of the club, Flankers Lounge, 50-yard line, 19th hole. They had all the football names, and they were the ones that were paying. They were businessmen, But like I said, like he said, I worked at Hallmark. I quit my job. And I would never change it.
Right.
But when I went with him in that studio, the only reason why that album, you asked why it didn't go anywhere, because the guy was just taking money. The studio man was just
the studio guy. Okay.
He was the one that was supposed to put this stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was nice. He was the one that was supposed to put it out on the air, not just take our $50 an hour. That's what happened with us on that. The bump.
Oh, so it's safe to say, you kind of mentioned this, Bump. Y'all knew music. Y'all were musicians. Mm-hmm. It was the business piece.
Thank you.
And when you look back in history and you look at some of the famous, Black soul musicians, very few of them really made it. And, you saw them driving big Cadillacs, but you saw how those shady deals that they were getting from the record labels, where they're making tons of money for the labels, and the label will give them a Cadillac or give them a car, something that wasn't even worth what they were earning.
Yeah.
And what's sad is that's still going on today.
Yeah.
That's still going on today. So if you don't know your business, it's a problem. I'm gonna tell y'all, it's really too bad that this did, because y'all had some stuff on here, man. Y'all had it was some real good music, man. Really good music.
Yeah, I write a lot of songs. I mean, real quick. Yeah, and so, being able to write songs that fast, I knew we had once we did this album, we would have a long career of our own music, you know.
Mhm.
And so that's where we were trying to go with it, you know, because I knew, you know, because some people take, you know, like years to come up with an album or something like that. You know, you were like 2 or 3 songs, you know, to take them a year to write them. You know, I can write 2 or 3 songs in a couple hours.
Yeah.
You know, so
We had it like that.
Yeah.
so
And you weren't like classically trained or anything. It's just natural musician.
no, I just play by ear. I just play by ear, and I think one thing that helped me write a lot of songs, I think, was because, you know, I used to try to have the band, you know, like when we were playing, I used to like to learn at least 3 new songs. Every new song that comes out that was jamming on the radio, I like to have all 3, at least 3 songs a week. And so like when we went out to play, you know, we'd be playing all the latest stuff constantly, you know, and make our band more valuable for people to hire us, you know. And you know, I tell the guys the songs that we were going to do, and people would come to practice a lot of times and didn't practice and learn the songs. And so I started learning the songs before they got there, you know, so if they didn't get their part, I could teach them their part real quick, and then we could still do the 3 songs a week, you know, on there. And so learning all those songs and everybody's parts, I think all those, it just molded into my brain, you know. So like when I hear a beat, you know, I can just come up with a song real quick.
Got you.
You know, from all those years of that.
I got a funny story. We played for the Shriners. We played for the Shriners, and he wrote the words down to his song. It wasn't our song, it was one of those top 10 things. And he wrote the words down. And we started the song. 1, 2, 3, we started kicking it. And while he turned his head, the words fell on the floor. Words fell on the floor. So we were trying to tell him, bump, bump, bump. And when he turned around where he's supposed to start singing, he didn't know anywhere. He said, oh. He just and we laughed so hard. We had to go a couple more bars so we could pick up the words.
That's where you got to ad lib, right? You got to ad lib. Yeah.
I teased him for years after that.
That's funny. That's funny. See, I always knew that you was a musician because when your son got married, y'all came back together to perform. And I'm gonna tell my listeners, they rocked it. They rocked it. When you talk about everybody on the dance floor having a good time, you all have been to a party where the DJ may be good, may not be good. Listen, when the bump band got on, we danced all night. And I'm not just saying that because they're on the show. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, I'm gonna bring you in.
Yeah.
Your dad is Bump Funk, right? You know him to be a musician. How did you find this album, and how did we get it out?
Yeah, so you know, I kind of grew up listening to the band practice and everything. I was always too young to actually see him perform until much later in life. But I remember that the song "Don't Lie to Me" on the album, and you know, I mean, I remember it to this day, and I hadn't heard it in, you know, since I was a little kid, and I just said, Dad, man, you know, do you have that one song that, you know, you used to do called "Don't Lie to Me"? And he's like, no, I've lost all that stuff. And I was like, man, that song was so good. I would love to hear that. So he didn't have he said he didn't have the music. So, but that song was just jamming. I always remember it, you know, from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, however long that was. And then one day he found it, and you know, I'll let him tell some of that story, but he brought the whole album, an album I hadn't even heard over, that had the song on it. And as soon as it played, first of all, "Don't Lie to Me" was better than I ever remembered it. And I always one of my favorite songs. And I forgot some of the details of it that made it even better. Mm-hmm. Like the female parts and all that stuff. Like I didn't even know, I can't even remember that part. and then I heard the rest of the album, and I was like, man, Dad, this is incredible. So that's how once he had that album, I let Chris from Lotus Pool Records hear it, and as soon as he heard it, I mean, we listened to about 3 or 4 songs in, and he was like, man, we got to get this out ASAP.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad that happened, because I had a chance to listen to it, and I'm gonna rave about it, on and on, because if you are a student of Black music, if you're a student of Black history, you need to listen to this, because it's like going back to that time. Now, I wasn't, obviously, Jay Scott and I weren't alive when we were very young when y'all were making this music, but we grew up in the era where Saturday morning, when you started hearing, the slow records or the funk or whatever, or Friday night when your pops pull out his brew and him and his fellas listening to that funk, it takes you back to that era, right? It takes you back to that. So you got the album, Jay Scott, you took it to the record label, they said, hey, we want to put it out. I gotta assume that this is what, this music 40 years old.
Yeah,
40 years old.
Yeah,
so,
1982 recorded.
Right. So it was made 40 years ago. So talk about the technology, because back then we were still listening to 45s and albums, and 8-tracks. So I know the music must have been different to bring it up to, now how things are mastered and digitized and everything. Talk about that process, Jeremy.
Yeah, it was the actual recordings were damaged. And it was, Dad, what was the media, that the original media that you had it recorded on?
I recorded on 8-track cassette.
Yeah. So
it was like Tascam. I mean, it was expensive equipment, but it was back when they had when the cassette 8-track cassettes first came out.
Yeah.
And that was one of the formats of recording back then. When that first came out.
And that's so funny, because when I look at the album, it's 8 songs, right? 8-track, and I remember, I'm old enough to remember jamming the music playing on the 8-track, right? Playing on the 8-track. So you got it. So you got a remaster, Jeremy, and you put it out.
So the label, basically had to take it, digitize it, and then send it over to a mastering shop in Chicago. And it, extensive work, as you could imagine, trying to revive it. But if you hear like the original, damaged material versus the actual released album, it's incredible.
Good.
What they're able to do.
So y'all were able to put this out, right? You were able to put this out, and I know y'all had a launch party. What was the reception? How was it for you to, 40 years later, finally put this album out? Because I gotta imagine y'all two been together for years, but was everybody who was on the original album, were they still with us, or?
No, there 2 or 3 of them are gone.
Yeah, 3 of them passed away already.
The female singer, the sax man, the drummer.
The sax man, Terry Grimmett, and the drummer, female vocalist, Wanda Bird, and the drummer, Herman Lacey, they call him Hammer. Yeah. They've all passed away already.
Now, here's something else I want to share before we go, because you asked a question about when we were back there playing, we used to have to battle, because when somebody would come to town with a group, say they missed the bass player is sick, they would go to the Philharmonic people and get their bass man, because we weren't in the union. And so while we were playing on stage, they would come in and cut us short. Did you ever have that happen? They would come in, because we weren't in the union. We were at Inferno, we were at other places, and the same men would come in. I said, well, how are we going to work? Because if we're paying the union dues and you're not giving us jobs? So that was another thing that was going on back when I got with the Black Rock, because they come in a couple of places and closed us down up there on 39th and Truce, that place upstairs, Manor Hall. They came in and they found we're grown now, we're grown. They found a bottle of jug wine, closed us down before we played the first song, closed the man's club, and then Inferno, they walk in and ask who's got union card. And they would close it down, close the club.
So there was a musicians union?
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be down on 18th Vine area.
Okay.
But yeah,
I think it was on 18th and Highland, I think it was.
yeah, it's still there.
I think it's still there.
But the union dues that we paid, we wasn't getting the jobs. So we just said, stop paying. So they found a way, come in, found out where we are, because we were on the radio, Black Rock Advancement. We had a bunch of groups that played the funk at that time, because they found out you can't get a job if you don't let the people dance.
Right.
So they come in and close us down. I said, man. So we went through that for a while, you know.
Yeah.
That was one. But you could go in another place, like down at River Key, guys that were our age, bands. Buckwheat played with them. A guy named Daryl Budget. He played with the group, Caucasian group. They paid them well. Buckwheat was there. They weren't in the union. You know, and we just went through those kind of things. Just to bring that up.
Gotcha. So back to this album being released. How did it feel to finally achieve the goal? You finally got it out. You finally, the world could finally listen to it. You know, was it a sense of accomplishment, pride? How did y'all feel to finally have it happen?
It was a sense of accomplishment, pride, and joy all at the same time. Yeah. But it was still kind of sad that you know, all the members of the group weren't here to enjoy the breaking of our album to the market, and it was exciting, but it wasn't to the top where it would have. The excitement wasn't there.
Somewhat bittersweet.
Yeah, because you know, when we did this album, we were supposed to be you know, launching ourselves into the recording market, you know, and when the album got lost, you know, I think the album got lost because there was like when he was talking about the Eugene Gold guy, and people didn't want to the band members didn't want to go with him because he was a shyster and stuff, you know. Yeah. So we started trying to look for another person to handle our group, and we couldn't find anybody right away. And then I forgot what happened to the band. We dispersed some kind of way. I can't remember how it happened.
Frustration.
And then the album was just sitting there, and then the years just went by so fast.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was writing songs, a whole lot of songs myself, you know, by myself a lot, and so it just got lost, and then when my son asked about that song, you know, and I go, man, I haven't seen that song in so long, you know. So I started looking for it, and I was looking through a bunch of tapes, and I couldn't find it. It took me like a couple of days, and I finally, you know, I saw it on a tape, and I put it in the recorder, and it started playing. Don't Lie to Me, you know. I said, oh, there's that song. I said, man, I forgot all about that.
Now the gentleman that recorded it, Mr. Gene Gold, he passed away about a month ago. He was the guy that kind of stuck it to it. But when I went in there with Bump to come on down and play the bass and do some stuff, I said, okay. When I went into the studio, I said, I know this guy. I was 18 before I went in the service, and I was singing with some people. And we signed a contract when I was 18 years old with Gene Gold. So now, when we come back with Bump, I was 32. And Gene Gold came out and said, hey, you ever Robert Kelly? I said, yeah. He said, wait a minute. And he went and brought this contract out that that I signed when I was 18. So he went to the back to do some recording. Well, I tore the thing up because it was no good. And when he came out, he was mad because I tore the contract. I said, man, I was 18.
Well,
I knew.
well, it's a good thing that this music was found, and that you all were able to, you know, after 40 something years, finally achieve your goal. I mean, you talked about it being bittersweet for the bandmates that weren't able to see it, you know, be released, but everybody wants to leave a mark on the world. And now you all have done that. And although we may not know them in person, we're not able to sit there and talk with them, their legacy lives on. It lives on in your music.
They were good guys. You would have loved them. You would have loved them.
Yeah. So I'm thankful that, you know, Jeremy asked you about it. You know, you went and dug and you found this treasure. This is Black history. This is Kansas City history. And I'm so glad that you gentlemen made time to talk to me. Y'all got any final words for, you know, people, you know, that like the funk or like the music? Any final words that you want to share with the listeners before we go?
I want to say one thing. Buy the album, put it on, and it will be like listening to the radio with all hits. And you can just put the album on, you can hear like 8 beautiful jamming songs, and you'll groove into it, and you'll play it over and over and over and over. The Bump Band album.
All right, the Bump Band.
I tell guys all the time, the thing that we love the most is that we learn to play an instrument, you know. And I started on lead, ended up with bass and piano, you know. He came by and we do things now. But any young man, if you can hum a song, I tell anybody, if you can hum a song, you can play it. You know, my wife says, I don't believe it. I said, okay. So I took our son, and when he was in New York, I showed him a couple of songs. Called me back 2 days later from New York. He said, hey, Dad. I said, what? And he played it. But he's not a guy that wants to play music. He's a brain guy. He uses that brain. And he played these songs for me. And I said, it took me some years. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
if you
sir.
got that talent, if you got somebody to show you something, we had nobody to show us anything. We just hit and miss till we learned how to play an instrument. You know, how to tune the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what I tell any youngster. Learn it. There's nothing that'll ever go away.
So for everybody listening to the show, I need you all to go and download the album. It's available on all platforms, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere where you listen to your music. It is the Bump Band, our music featuring Bump Funk. So make sure you go and download that, listen to the music. I actually have a CD. I know most of us don't listen to CDs, but and Bump and KC's R. Kelly. I'm gonna get back to Kansas City, and I need an autograph on this. I need y'all to autograph it for me. It's definitely a collector's item. But Bump, Mr. Kelly, Jeremy, I appreciate y'all coming on the show. I want all our listeners to listen to the music. This is wonderful. I'm glad y'all was able to share this history with me. For all y'all to listen to the show, make sure you go to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Make sure you share the show. Share this show right here. Share this with your mom. Share this with your dad. Share this with your kids. This is history. This is Black history, and they need to know about the funk. KC is known for his jazz, but KC also has the funk, the Bump Funk Band. So, all right, on that note.
I just want to give a shout out, Brother Banks. Thank you for this opportunity to be on this amazing show. And, you know, thank you for everything you're doing for our community with all the insight and everything that you're providing on this. Want to give a shout out to Lotus Pool Records for making this happen. And, you know, this has just been an amazing journey. Just one other thing is, you know, we're being played right now on 70 radio stations across the country. 20 are in, you know, medium to heavy rotation. Debuted 26 on the college music charts. So this thing is really moving. And I appreciate everyone's support.
All right, y'all keep streaming.
We want to
Thank
thank
you.
you for having us on the
Thank you.
show.
No problem, no problem. We'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.